The unknown visitors. The Zephyrian Empire stretched across 17 star systems, its crystalline warships reflecting the light of 1,000 suns. For 3 centuries, no species had challenged their supremacy. Their vessels moved through space like massive predators, each one capable of reducing planets to molten glass. The Empire's philosophy was simple: submit or be eliminated. In the grand chambers of the Imperial Palace on Zephyr Prime, Supreme Commander Vexhai studied the latest territorial reports. His 4 arms moved gracefully across the holographic displays, each finger adorned with rings of conquered worlds. The Empire had grown comfortable in its dominance, perhaps too comfortable. "Commander," his aide entered, bowing deeply. "We've received unusual reports from the Outer Rim." Vexhai barely glanced up. The Outer Rim was populated by primitive species barely worth cataloging. "What kind of reports?" "Unknown vessels have been detected near the Cordon system. They don't match any known design patterns." The commander's antennae twitched with mild interest. "Pirates? Smugglers?" "Uncertain, sir. The ships are unusual. They appear to be made of simple metal alloys, no energy shielding, minimal weapon signatures. Our scouts described them as boxes with engines." Vexhai let out a sound that passed for laughter among his species. Boxes with engines. How charmingly primitive. "Send the 3rd Mockery Fleet. Let's welcome these newcomers to civilized space." The 3rd Mockery Fleet was the Empire's diplomatic insult made manifest. When encountering new species deemed unworthy of serious military engagement, the Empire would send these ships. Older vessels crewed by officers seeking entertainment rather than glory. It was a calculated humiliation, a way to demonstrate the vast technological gap between the Empire and lesser beings. Admiral Kexlor commanded the Mockery Fleet from his flagship, the Disdainful. As they approached the coordinates, he prepared his crew for what he expected would be an amusing encounter. "Remember," he announced across the ship's communication system, "we're here to demonstrate superiority, not start a war. Though given what we've heard about these vessels, I doubt they could scratch our paint." The fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with deliberate ostentation. What they found waiting surprised them. 9 ships hung in the void, exactly as described. They were indeed boxes, rectangular, utilitarian, with no aesthetic consideration whatsoever. No graceful curves, no intimidating weapon arrays, just simple geometric shapes with engine pods attached. They looked like cargo containers someone had strapped rockets to. "This is even worse than the report suggested," laughed Kexler's tactical officer. "Should we hail them?" "Admiral, by all means. Let's see what passes for communication among these creatures." The hail was sent on all standard frequencies. The response came quickly, in perfectly translated Zephyrian. "Greetings. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Expeditionary Force. We come in peace and seek dialogue." The bridge crew erupted in laughter. Not only were these ships pathetic, but their occupants called themselves humans, a name that sounded like a sneeze in Zephyrian. "Captain Chen," Kexler replied, emphasizing his amusement. "I am Admiral Kexler of the Zephyrian Empire. You have entered our territory. While we appreciate your peaceful intentions, I must inform you that this region of space is under our protection. Perhaps you should return to wherever you came from before you hurt yourselves." There was a pause before the human replied. "Admiral, we appreciate your concern. However, we've been conducting peaceful exploration of this sector for several months. We've established no colonies and taken no resources. We simply wish to learn." Kexler's mandibles clicked in amusement. "Learn? From us? How adorable. Tell me, Captain, do your ships even have faster-than-light capability? Or did you drift here over centuries?" "We have our own methods of travel, Admiral. Different from yours, perhaps, but effective." The Zephyrian bridge crew was beside themselves with mirth. These primitives actually thought their technology was comparable to the Empire's. "Captain Chen, Kexler said, his voice dripping with condescension. I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to pretend this encounter never happened. Take your metal boxes and return home. The galaxy is no place for species who've barely mastered welding. The human's response was calm, measured. We appreciate your perspective, Admiral. However, we intend to continue our peaceful exploration. We hope future encounters will be more cordial. Kexler closed the channel, shaking his head. Log this encounter as primitive species, threat level 0. Send 2 scouts to shadow them. I want to know where these fools came from. 2 Zephyrian scouts, sleek vessels designed for stealth and reconnaissance, broke formation to follow the human ships. Their crews were young officers seeking easy advancement through mundane missions. The human fleet began moving, their boxy ships accelerating at a pace that seemed almost comically slow to Zephyrian standards. The scouts followed at a distance, their pilots making jokes about having to reduce speed to avoid overtaking their quarry. Then something strange happened. The human ships didn't enter hyperspace. They didn't engage any visible FTL system. They simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next they were gone, leaving nothing behind. No energy signature, no spatial distortion, nothing. What just happened? Demanded the scout leader, Lieutenant Vesh. Unknown, sir. They're gone. All sensors show empty space. That's impossible. Run full spectrum analysis. But there was nothing to analyze. The human ships had disappeared as completely as if they'd never existed. Back on the disdainful, Admiral Kexler received the report with confusion. What do you mean vanished? Exactly that, Admiral. No hyperspace signature, no warp trail, no quantum tunnel. They just stopped existing in that location. Kexler's amusement faded. Could they have been destroyed? Some kind of catastrophic failure? Negative, sir. No debris, no energy release. It's as if they teleported. But that's impossible, Kexler finished. Teleportation on that scale was theoretically possible, but required energy outputs that would light up half the galaxy. Admiral, his communications officer interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the human captain. Put it through. Captain Chen's voice was as calm as before. Admiral Kexler, I notice you sent scouts to follow us. While we understand your curiosity, we value our privacy. We've relocated to continue our peaceful mission. Please convey to your leadership that humanity seeks friendship, not conflict. Where are you transmitting from? Kexler demanded. That's not important, Admiral. What matters is our mutual understanding. We'll be conducting surveys in this sector for the next several weeks. We hope we can coexist peacefully. The channel closed, leaving the bridge in uncomfortable silence. The human ships might look primitive, but they possessed technology the Empire didn't understand. That was troubling. Over the next days, reports began filtering in from across the outer rim. Human ships were being spotted in multiple systems, always in small groups, always maintaining the same boxy appearance. They avoided confrontation, conducted their mysterious surveys, and vanished whenever Zephyrian ships approached. Back on Zephyr Prime, Supreme Commander Vexhai reviewed the reports with growing concern. The Empire's entire military doctrine was based on technological superiority. If these humans possessed advanced technology disguised by primitive appearances, double the patrols in the outer sectors, he ordered, and send the 7th Battle Fleet to the Corvin system. If these humans return, I want them captured and their technology examined. The Empire had ruled through fear and superior firepower for centuries. The appearance of these strange visitors stirred something the Zephyrians hadn't felt in generations. Uncertainty. In deep space, aboard the human ship Resolution, Captain Sarah Chen reviewed their mission logs. The boxy exteriors of their vessels hid technology that would reshape galactic understanding. Quantum-locked hulls, probability drives, dimensional shields, all disguised beneath deliberately crude exteriors. They took the bait, her first officer, Commander Okafor noted. They think we're primitives. Chen nodded. Let them think that. Humanity's learned from its history. We don't reveal our hand until we must. Continue the surveys and maintain the facade. The human fleet had spent 50 years developing their technology in secret, learning from humanity's violent past. They knew that in a galaxy ruled by empires, appearing weak was sometimes the greatest strength. Their ships could fold space, phase through matter, and manipulate fundamental forces in ways the galaxy's dominant species couldn't imagine. Captain, the navigation officer reported, we're detecting a large fleet movement toward the Corvin system. 7th Battle Fleet configuration. Chen smiled slightly. They're getting nervous. Good. Nervous empires make mistakes. Continue as planned. The stage was set for a confrontation that would challenge everything the galaxy thought it knew about power, technology, and the small blue planet whose children had learned to hide their strength behind humble appearances. Unknown to the Zephyrian Empire, humanity had been preparing for this moment since their first contact with alien life 50 years ago. They'd studied the galaxy's powers, understood their arrogance, and prepared accordingly. The boxy ships were just the beginning of a strategy that would redefine the cosmic order. As the 7th Battle Fleet moved into position, its commanders confident in their superiority, they had no idea they were sailing toward a lesson in humility that would echo across the stars. The Reckoning. The 7th Battle Fleet of the Zephyrian Empire emerged from hyperspace like a storm of crystalline death. 42 warships arranged in attack formation, their energy weapons charged and ready. Admiral Thexar commanded from the Bridge of the Supremacy, a vessel that had never known defeat in its 200-year service. The Corvin system lay before them, its asteroid fields and gas giants providing perfect cover for any ships attempting to hide. Thexar was a veteran of dozens of campaigns, and unlike the Mockery fleet, he took no chances with unknown enemies. Full sensor sweep, he ordered. If those boxes are hiding here, I want them found. The fleet's combined sensor arrays could detect a grain of sand from across a solar system. They swept through space in overlapping patterns, searching for any trace of the mysterious human vessels. Contact. The tactical officer's voice cut through the bridge. 7 vessels detected near the 4th planet's moon. Configuration matches the human ships. Thexar studied the display. The boxy vessels sat in open space, making no attempt to hide. They appeared to be conducting some kind of survey, oblivious to the massive war fleet bearing down on them. They're either very brave or very stupid, Thexar mused. Signal all ships. Surround them. I want those vessels disabled and captured. The Zephyrian fleet moved with practiced precision, forming a sphere around the human ships. Weapons locked on. Tractor beams charge. Warding parties standing ready. It was a textbook capture operation. Admiral, we're being hailed by the human vessels. On screen, a human face appeared, different from the previous captain. This one was older, with gray streaking through dark hair. His expression was calm despite being surrounded by enough firepower to destroy a small moon. I am Admiral James Morrison of the United Earth Defense Force. I see you've brought quite a welcoming committee. Thexar's mandibles tightened. Admiral Morrison, you and your ships are now prisoners of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your vessels and submit to boarding. Any resistance will result in your immediate destruction. Morrison nodded slowly. I understand your position, Admiral Thexar. However, I must inform you that we cannot comply with that request. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We show no hostile intent. Your intent is irrelevant. You possess unknown technology that represents a potential threat to the Empire. Surrender now, or be destroyed. There was a pause. Morrison seemed to be considering his options. Then he spoke, his voice carrying a weight that made Thexar's scales prickle. Admiral, I'm going to ask you once to stand down your fleet and allow us to continue our mission. Humanity does not seek conflict, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. The Zephyrian bridge erupted in laughter. 7 small ships against 42 warships. The human admiral was either insane or operating under some colossal misunderstanding of the situation. "You have 10 seconds to begin powering down your systems," Thexar announced. 10, 9, 8. What happened next would be debated by military historians for generations. As Thexar reached 3, the human ships simply shifted. They didn't move in any conventional sense. They existed in one location, then existed in another, with no transition between. Suddenly, instead of being surrounded, they were dispersed throughout the Zephyrian formation. "What?" Thexar began. The Supremacy's shields flared and died, not from an attack. There was no energy discharge, no projectile impact. The shield generators simply stopped functioning, as if someone had reached inside the ship and switched them off. "Shields down," the engineering officer reported, panic creeping into his voice. "I don't understand. All systems show green, but they're not responding." Similar reports flooded in from across the fleet. Shields failing, weapons going offline, engines losing power, all without any visible attack from the human ships. "Admiral Morrison." Thexar growled into the communication system. "What have you done?" Morrison's voice was patient, almost sympathetic. "We've demonstrated our defensive capabilities. Admiral, your systems are unharmed, merely suspended. We can restore them just as easily. I urge you again to reconsider this confrontation." Thexar's mind raced. No known technology could selectively disable ship systems from a distance without leaving some trace. The humans weren't using weapons. They were manipulating the very nature of technology itself. All ships switched to manual controls. "Prepare tow." He never finished the order. Every display on every Zephyrian ship suddenly showed the same image: Earth, a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Then the image zoomed out, showing Earth's solar system, then the local stellar neighborhood, then the galaxy itself. A demonstration of scale, of perspective. Morrison's voice echoed through every speaker on every ship. "Admiral Thexar, the Zephyrian Empire controls 17 systems. Impressive by any measure, but the galaxy contains billions of stars, countless civilizations, infinite possibilities. Humanity has spent the last 50 years preparing not for war, but for understanding. Our technology isn't designed for conquest. It's designed for exploration, for defense, for the preservation of peace." The displays returned to normal. The Zephyrian systems began coming back online. Shields restored, weapons charged, engines responsive. But the message was clear. The humans could take it all away again at will. "You could have destroyed us," Thexar said slowly. "Yes," Morrison agreed, "but that's not who we are. Humanity has seen enough war, enough destruction. We came to the stars seeking something better." For the first time in centuries, a Zephyrian admiral felt truly outmatched. Not by superior firepower or larger numbers, but by a fundamentally different approach to power itself. "Your technology," Thexar began, "is not for conquest," Morrison finished. "We've moved beyond the need to dominate others. We manipulate quantum fields, fold space-time, phase through dimensions. But we use these abilities to explore, to learn, to protect. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us." The 2 fleets hung in space, weapons powered but not aimed. It was a moment of choice that would define the future. "What do you want?" Thexar asked finally. "Coexistence, mutual respect, the chance to explore the galaxy without fear of destruction. We're not interested in your territory or your resources. We simply want the freedom to learn and grow." Thexar found himself in an impossible position. His fleet could attack, but the humans had demonstrated they could disable Zephyrian technology at will. Even if they managed to destroy some human ships, the cost would be catastrophic. And there was no guarantee the humans didn't have even more advanced defenses they hadn't revealed. "I need to consult with my superiors," Thexar said eventually. "Of course, we'll maintain our position here." No hostile actions will be taken unless we're attacked first. The communication ended. Thexar stared at the tactical display, at the 7 boxy ships that had just revolutionized his understanding of the galaxy. On Zephyr Prime, Supreme Commander Vexhai received Thexar's report with disbelief turning to calculation. The humans possessed technology that could neutralize the Empire's greatest advantage. But they claimed to want only peace and exploration. Could it be a trick? His War Council asked. If they wanted our destruction, they could have achieved it, Vexhai replied. Admiral Thexar's fleet was completely at their mercy, yet they restored our systems and asked only for coexistence. The implications were staggering. For 3 centuries, the Zephyrian Empire had ruled through superior technology and overwhelming force. Now they faced a species that surpassed them technologically but showed no interest in conquest. We have 3 options, Vexhai announced. We can fight and likely lose. We can attempt to steal their technology and risk making an enemy of a superior power. Or we can accept their offer of peaceful coexistence. The council debated through the night. Military hardliners called for a massive assault, convinced that human restraint was weakness. Others counseled caution, pointing out that antagonizing the humans could lead to the Empire's destruction. A few forward-thinking members suggested that cooperation might benefit both species. As dawn broke over Zephyr Prime's crystal spires, Vexhai made his decision. Send this message to Admiral Thexar and to the human fleet, he commanded. The Zephyrian Empire acknowledges the technological capabilities of humanity and accepts their offer of peaceful coexistence. We propose a formal treaty to establish boundaries and protocols for future interactions. The message reached the Corvin system as both fleets maintained their tense standoff. Admiral Morrison received it with visible relief. Admiral Thexar, he said across the communication channel, it seems our leadership have chosen wisdom over conflict. Shall we begin discussing the details of our new relationship? Thexar felt the weight of history on his shoulders. The Empire was about to sign its first treaty as equals, not conquerors. Agreed, Admiral Morrison. But I have one question first. Ask. Why reveal your capabilities now? You could have remained hidden, continued your explorations in secret. Morrison smiled. Because humanity believes that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the choice not to. We revealed ourselves because we want to be part of the galactic community, not observers from the shadows, and because we believe that even empires can change, given the opportunity. Over the following weeks, human and Zephyrian diplomats crafted a treaty that would reshape galactic politics. The humans shared limited aspects of their technology, medical advances, agricultural improvements, clean energy systems, while keeping their defensive capabilities private. In return, the Zephyrians opened their vast historical archives and star charts to human scholars. News of the agreement spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Other species, long cowed by Zephyrian might, began to see new possibilities. If the humans could stand up to the Empire and negotiate as equals, perhaps the age of imperial dominance was ending. Captain Sarah Chen, whose first contact had started it all, stood on the observation deck of the Resolution, watching Zephyrian and human ships work side by side to establish a joint research station. Think it will last? Her first officer asked. Nothing lasts forever, Chen replied. But maybe, just maybe, we've started something new. A galaxy based on cooperation instead of conquest. The boxy human ships no longer drew laughter from other species. They had become symbols of a new era, one where strength wasn't measured in weapons, but in wisdom, where power came not from the ability to destroy, but from the choice to build. The Zephyrian Empire still controlled its 17 systems, but it no longer ruled through fear alone. Humanity had given them a gift more valuable than any technology, the chance to choose a different path. As the joint fleet disbanded and ships returned to their home sectors, Admiral Morrison sent one final message to Admiral Thexar. Thank you for choosing peace. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us to thrive. Thexar's reply was simple but profound. Thank you for showing us there was a choice. The story of humanity's arrival in the galactic community would be told for generations, not as conquerors or victims, but as teachers who showed the galaxy that true power lay not in domination, but in the courage to extend a hand in friendship, even to those who had mocked them. The age of empires wasn't over, but it would never be the same. In their boxy ships that hid impossible technologies, humans had brought something new to the stars. Hope for a future where difference was celebrated, where strength protected rather than oppressed, and where the vast expanse of space was big enough for every species to find their place. As trade routes opened and cultural exchanges began, the galaxy discovered that the humans' greatest technology wasn't their quantum drives or dimensional shields. It was their belief that even the mightiest empire could choose compassion over conquest, that enemies could become allies, and that the stars held infinite possibilities for those brave enough to seek them in peace. The transformation wasn't instant or easy. There were setbacks, misunderstandings, and moments when old habits nearly led to conflict. But with each passing year, the new reality took hold. The galaxy was no longer ruled by the strongest, but shared by all who chose cooperation over conquest. Humanity had arrived not with weapons of war, but with tools of peace, and in doing so, they had won the greatest victory of all. They had changed the galaxy's definition of strength itself. In the end, the beings who had mocked the pathetic fleet learned that true power wasn't in the size of one's weapons or the gleam of one's hull. It was in the ability to see beyond fear, to choose understanding over destruction, and to believe that the vast darkness between stars could be illuminated by the light of peaceful coexistence. The human ships continued their explorations, their boxy forms now welcome sights and systems across the galaxy. They had proven that sometimes the greatest changes come not from those who impose their will, but from those who show others that there's always another choice. And in the depths of space, where once only warships prowled, vessels of a dozen species now travel together, united in their quest to understand the infinite mysteries that awaited them among the stars.